Okay, now let's bring in former New York City mayor and former attorney for President Trump, my old mayor, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, before we get into some of the other stuff, I want to talk a little bit about that breaking news that Bannon, he's sentenced to 4 months in federal prison. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a fair and just sentence?
Oh, God. I mean, it's an example of the police state that we live in. I mean, how can you possibly describe Hunter Biden, you know, living in the lap of luxury, having committed 50 or so provable crimes in the hard drive that's sitting about 1,000 feet from me? I mean, you just take out the paper and he committed the crimes. And this man who actually raised a privilege, and the privilege has to be waived by the president, otherwise he can't testify. That's a legitimate legal argument that should see its way through the Supreme Court before anybody decides to put him in prison. And then you named, I won't go through it again, how many Democrats have been held in contempt, and zero happens on things that are far more serious than this.
Yeah,
he's not accused of a crime.
He said at that little presser thing he held afterwards, he said he has testified more in front of all these people in the Senate and House hearings, and he said he gave more information. He feels it's unjust. Also today we learned that President Trump, 45, has been subpoenaed as well to testify in front of Jan 6. What do you think that will be like?
Well, the January 6th committee is a committee made up of proven liars. These are the same people who told us that there was Russian collusion for 4 years. Every single one of them was lying, trying to frame an innocent man and a president. They also lied about the hard drive and got 51 of their lackey intelligence people to lie. Who was telling the truth about that? Trump. Yeah. Trump told the truth about Russian collusion. There was none. He told the truth, and I did, about the hard drive. It has now been verified completely. He told the truth about the conversation with the president of Ukraine. There was no bribe. There was no quid pro quo. It's Biden who did that. So now all of a sudden we got these proven liars taking an incident that was wrong and unfortunate and should require proportionate punishment and making it into the Civil War or 9/11 or an insurrection without a single person having a gun. Exactly how were they going to overthrow the government without a gun?
Yeah, I think that Strzok,
If it wasn't so serious, it'd be a joke.
That former FBI guy who was trying to get Trump not elected, Strzok, while he was at the FBI, he compared January 6th to 9/11, which is just insanity. Mr. Mayor, all right, let me put your prosecutor hat on. Folks, this is one of the badasses prosecutors in the history of the country right there. Put your prosecutor hat on. So Trump's got some options, right? So he gets subpoenaed. He can ignore the subpoena and maybe likely end up with what Bannon just got, or he can testify and then he can do a couple of things. He can either plead the fifth a bunch of times, and the left will make hay out of that. Or he's a fighter. Does he go there and fight back? What do you think he'll do, and what should he do? Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, what should happen if we were a country of laws like we used to be is before any of this happened, before anybody gets hit with the tremendously horrible thing of imprisonment, where we've basically criminalized politics. Just on the Democrat side, kind of like the secret police do in fascist countries. The courts should have worked out the law here. They should have been patient enough to wait for the Supreme Court to decide the full extent of the privilege. And once it's decided, then you can figure out if somebody violated the law. This is not a settled area of law. And not only that, we have selective prosecution in capital letters. Every Democrat ever held in contempt has never, ever been fined, much less put in prison. And the contempt was over bringing guns into the United States, drugs into the United States, not a dispute over records.
It strikes me, Mr. Mayor, Nancy Pelosi just leaked a video of herself on January 6th. Her daughter happened to be there coincidentally, doing a documentary. But they showed her on January 6th in her office saying, I hope he comes over here, meaning Trump. I want to knock his lights out or punch him in the face, or some reference to violence. But it strikes me that she had something to say. She could have also got more police to the Capitol that day. Why is she not subpoenaed to testify at January 6th? Because
they're covering up. I mean, why is Hillary Clinton not prosecuted? How is Joe Biden not prosecuted when his son has said unequivocally he gave 30%, he gave 50% of the money for 50 years to his father, and basically because it was to pay for his father's influence, which we otherwise call bribery. What's Joe Biden doing sitting in the White House rather than prison? He's a major criminal. His son is a major criminal. It isn't speculation any longer. It's on text, it's on paper, it's on video. There are numerous witnesses that the FBI, ignores. Their own partner tells you he's a criminal. And we're fighting over records which haven't jeopardized any. If the records moved around inside Mar-a-Lago, the Russians didn't get it. Yeah. It's not like Hillary destroying 33,000 emails or Joe Biden giving up $85 million worth of offensive arms that are now being used to kill people. I mean, those are impeachable offenses.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor,
this is a dispute that every president has.
I wanted to get to this Philly DA, Larry Krasner, saying that talking about crime is racist because you're the crime solver. Something more important, really, in my mind, came up. Republicans are likely going to clearly going to take the House, and real clear politics right now has Republicans having a 53-47 majority in the Senate right now. If that were the case, and Rudy Giuliani was advising the Republicans, who would be let's call it the top 3 or 4 people that you would pull in front of a committee and start hearing our side, a different side of the story they've been selling?
President of the United States, his son, their partner, Devin Archer, who are we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Their partner, Devin Archer, who knows the whole story. Eric Shearman, I think it is, who was the go-between who whacked up the bribe money for Biden. He's the one who took care of the accounts. Remember, there's a definitive text from Hunter to his daughter explaining the conspiracy. He says in it, for 30 years, I've paid all the expenses of the family, and I still have to give 50% of all the income to Pop. So, I mean, what that indicates is the income was really for Pop, which, of course, any intelligent person would figure out. Yeah. A major organized criminal in Ukraine who, now and again kills people is not given $8 to $10 million to a guy that just got kicked out of the military for being a drug addict.
Right. And among others, Mr. Mayor, the Chinese aren't going to let this guy who has no experience work for give them something like $1.2 billion of their money to invest. It's just so shady. All right, Mr. Mayor, I ran out of time, but I really, really enjoy having you, my friend.
Yeah, you do a great job, Eric.
Thank you, sir.
I enjoy so much being with you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have you back soon.